So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of our 2-part TrustyCare training session. My name is Ben Groves of Insurance Advisors Direct. I am a sales operating analyst here. If you are not already contracted with Insurance Advisors Direct, please contact us to talk about some opportunities that we have for you. Again, this is the second part of our 2-part training with TrustyCare. Both of these will be recorded and available to be reviewed on our YouTube page, probably by middle of next week. As we're going, please feel free to type questions into the chat or the Q&A function. We will either answer them as they're coming up, or we will have a Q&A afterwards. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Clayton.
Happy Thursday. Thanks, Ben. So just to recap, yesterday, we discussed the beneficiaries, running a quote, plan comparisons, beneficiary profile. Today, we are going to talk about, we're going to get into the blue button. What does that mean? How do we import their medications automatically? How do you do it on behalf of your client? And how does that set you up for the future as well? The scope of appointment, we do have a new functionality with this, and that's texting and uploading your own SOA as well. I'm going to go through those, the instant plan and RX review. So this is a really cool tool that will allow you to, after you do your medication updates, after you do the current plan updates, then you can run a quote for every single one of your beneficiaries for your drugs and get that out of your way. I'll go into more detail with that. We're going to talk about direct enrollment and then the training resources. So let's go over into the system here. And yesterday we were working with Ben training. We're going to keep working with Ben training as we go through this. So the first thing I want to do, yesterday we did import or add their medications for Ben manually. We know how to do that, right? But there's this little button over here. It's the blue button 2.0. I can't click on that. Well, the reason why is because I have not done a import at least one time from CMS. So what we have to do is do this main import, and I'm going to show you, and then this button will light up blue, just like the scope of appointment. And then in the future, you'll be able to at any time click the blue button and import medications, import their pharmacies, import any of their quote information or demographic information at any time. You will no longer have to go and ask your client, hey, did you have any medication updates? I'm just going to click this button, boom, done. Okay, so let's talk about that. So the first thing you're going to do is email. Okay, so I'm going to go actions, email. This is if you want to do it individually for this one person. If you did want to send this to every one of your clients at one time, you can just click all, or if you wanted to select some, you can select some, and then you click email. And then it's going to verify, okay, we're going to send the medication update email. I'm not going to hit send because I only want to do that one. I don't want to send it to 6,000 clients. But I'm going to hit send email. And then what it's going to do is send me an email that we're going to see here in just a second. So I'm going to do for this one Ben training, I'm going to do email. Medication update, again, sends request to run individual beneficiary yearly drug review. I'm going to hit send email. And this just confirms. Now I'm going to check my email. Let me go to my other screen. And then I will pull that email over for you to see. There's the ding, just came in. Okay, now pull this over. This is what it looks like. There we go. That's better. For whatever reason, it went up and I couldn't grab it and move it over. So this is what it looks like as you send it to your beneficiary, to your client. Okay, so hey, it's time to conduct your annual review. It does have your name here. Just so you know, any email that comes out, it will go from info@trusty.care. This is for spoofing and phishing reasons, that's why we have to do that, but we do have your name there. Now, if they do want to reply to you, they can click the email here. If they do hit reply, what it will do is create a ticket for support for us, and then we just forward that over to you. So nothing is ever lost. If they do reply to this, you will get notified. Okay, so that's a little protection here. So, okay, so dear Ben, it's time to conduct your review for 2024. We do have information here, just explaining to them if they wanted to read more about this, they can, as to why you're doing this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Start My Plan Review. Okay, and what this is going to do, let me change my screen back over here. This is going to pull up a page that says, okay, you need to confirm your email and whatnot. Let me log out here because I can't log in as a beneficiary while I'm logged in as a broker. So, and that's information for you as well. If you are testing this out, log out of Trusty Select Pro for you as a broker, because if not, you're going to get an error message on this screen right here. And that's because you can't have both. Your client will never have that issue because they don't have the TSP broker tool. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create this account. I'm going to enter in my date of birth. Oops, I need to put in my slashes. Okay, and then I'm going to put in my unique password. And this can be anything you want. And then I'm going to agree. And I'm going to click enter. Oh, this is because I had see, that's what you get when you logged in. I logged out after I already clicked that link. So it read that I was already in the system. So bear with me 1 second. Hey, you need to get your act together today and tell me about it. All right. So let me put this in here again. Put in my password. I think I figured that. Okay. I'm going to hit enter. Now I come into this screen right here. Okay. So let's find the best plan for you. They can either enter their data themselves or they can do the blue button. They have both options at this point. Okay. Right now they are literally in their portal. So when I click, I want to enter this information myself, recognize the screen. This is the same screen when we're creating their profile. Okay. So they can do this manually. But what I'm going to do is do the import. Okay, so I'm going to click import my data from mymedicare.gov. This is going to go in through a flow. At this stage, they would need to have already set up their account with mymedicare.gov. If they don't, you'll need to create that account, or they will, and then go through the process of starting that blue button import. What a lot of brokers do, I will kind of give you some tips that I've learned as I've been working with brokers, is they will have them sign a limited power of attorney, and then they will do this blue button import on their behalf, because we know that a lot of clients sometimes struggle with technology. So the brokers just take care of this for them. They just have them sign a limited power of attorney and then create the mymedicare.gov account and then do the blue button import for them. All these steps right now that I'm showing you only has to be done one time, and that's to give us the car key, the token is what we call it, and then that button in the profile will be lit up. Okay, and I'll show you that here in a second. Now, all of this, I want to preface this that this is all fake information, just so that I can do this demo. I'm going to hit login after I have that information. Now it's going to bring me to a screen here that says, okay, Trusty has asked for some of your data. Do you want to share all of it or share everything but your personal information? So in this demo, what I'm going to do is do this option here, because I don't want it to override with the fake information like the first name, last name, zip code. I don't want any of that. I want to keep it Ben training. But what you would do is just keep it, share all of your data, because if you as a broker accidentally typed in their name wrong or something like that, it will correct all that. Okay. Now I'm going to hit allow. And this is where the car key is being passed. Okay, and it's bringing in all of their base information. Okay, so their medication information, their current plan comes over at this point as well. Okay, the first name, last name, zip code, and date of birth come over automatically as well. But remember, I said I don't want that because I don't want Ben training to be messed up. Okay, so that's why I did that. Now I'm going to hit save and continue, because me as a beneficiary, look at all this medication. Oh my gosh, I don't take all these. And look at my, the pharmacies and the doctors don't come over in that first wave, but in the profile, when we do it, it will. Okay, so right now it's only passing the medications. Now, if you have somebody that, and I know you guys have had this as you go through the years, where they bring in a shoebox full of medications, right? And you're like, oh my goodness. Okay, let's get these entered, and you enter them in manually, and then, or they send you a big long list. You enter them in manually, and then you say, okay, I'm going to do a blue button import. I'm going to import their medication list. You just wasted your time entering them all in manually, because this is going to override anything that was in there for medications before. Okay. The reason we do that is because we want to have the most current medications in the system. We do a 1-year look back. So if they had medications 3 years ago that they're not taking, those aren't going to come in. It's just 1 year back. That's it. So they'll want to go through here and take a look at these and say, okay, well, I don't take that one. I don't take this one, and I don't take that one anymore. Okay, those are my medications, right? Now, once they're done, or they can add a medication too. So let's say they go to the doctor next week or last week, and the doctor prescribed them something, and they recently filled it, but it's not showing up on that list. I get this question in training a lot too. How long does it take for that medication to show up here in this list? Well, when they go to the pharmacy, they'll get their prescription filled, and then the pharmacy sends that claim off, and then they get paid. So as soon as that process completes, that's when it goes into their mymedicare.gov account, and then it will pull in. So I think it's like 30 days, whatever that process cycle is. So they may have to add a medication if they just went to the doctor. I'm going to hit done adding medications. You're all set. You're going to have Clayton, the broker at Reality Bites. That's a computer joke. And they will contact you, but here's their phone number. Okay, so they will hit log out. And at this point, they can bookmark this, and at any time they can log into this account if they wanted to, if they're doing this on their own. But I'm going to go ahead and close that window. Now I'm going to put my broker hat back on. Okay, I'm going to log in, and I'm going to go into Ben's account here, his profile. Do you see anything different? Blue button. Okay, remember this was gray. So now I had those car keys passed over to me, and those car keys stick with me forever. Okay, so I will, until the beneficiary revokes access on the mymedicare.gov account, you will always have this token here. So come next AEP, you don't even have to bother them for their medication updates. You just go in here, click the button, click personal info, plan info. Let's say I want pharmacies. I'm going to sync that now, but let me show you what it looks like. So see, here's the pharmacies I have right now. But if I do the import, any pharmacy that has been filled for that particular beneficiary will show up here. Okay. So I would hit update, and you see this flash, there they are. Okay. It overrides what you had in there for the actual pharmacy that they filled their prescription at. Okay. Any questions on that piece with the blue button?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I do have a question though.
Sure.
So when you first do the blue button import, you said that it's going to override any information. So if you spend all that time putting in medications and then you do the import, it's going to override those. So you do the blue button import, it brings it all over, and then you're like, oh, well, they just got this medication, so you add it. When you do the update later on, will that then get rid of that medication that you just added?
Not if that claim is processed and Medicare has paid that.
Okay.
If it's like, are you talking, Ben, like if it was 4 months down the road and then you do it again, will that medication show?
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, if it's on the list, but I mean, if you do it like right away, I guess it would delete that, right? If it's not on the My Medicare yet.
Yeah, if it doesn't come in, you'd want to add that manually in there. Just like if I filled it yesterday, it's not going to be on that list because it hasn't fully processed and that EOB process, all that, right?
Okay.
The other question that I don't know if somebody has asked this or not, but the other question I get to is if the beneficiary goes out on their mymedicare.gov site and enters in all their medications and make sure that list is correct, does that pull in? Absolutely not, because that is not the level that we're pulling this information from. It's actually filled at the pharmacy, and there's two layers. So there's the layer that the beneficiary has, and then there's the pharmacy, which is all the database piece. And that database piece is what we're pulling from. We don't want this. We want the actual medication that was filled to reduce errors.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So we do have a couple questions here. When we are searching Medicare.gov to do drug lookup, can we create an account for client, or is that something the client has to do?
That's where it's a good question. That's where you would want a limited power of attorney, and that's where the brokers prefer to do that. Sometimes it depends on their client, because like I say, sometimes their client is not tech savvy and they're like, what? Or they might be spooked, like, I don't want Medicare.gov to have my information. Well, they already have it, because if you're on Medicare, your information's there. The minute you go in and you fill a prescription and stuff, it's already there. All you're doing is creating that account profile to access that information. Whether you're logging into mymedicare.gov or doing the blue button import, all you're doing is pretty much activating that account. So to answer that question in 50 words or less, which is impossible for me, is if you get a limited power of attorney, yeah, you can create that mymedicare.gov account.
Gotcha. And then I think this was already answered. We also, does it show the new meds they may have added? I think that's what you were talking about.
That's the one that we were just talking about that. It will show the new meds, not that the beneficiary has added, because again, that's this level up here. We're down here where the pharmacy interacts with Medicare.gov. The client interface side, the user interface where they do their own medication, those do not come over. It's only if that medication has been processed by the pharmacy and that EOB process is completed, then that will show up. So much 30 days or something.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I think this is also goes along with what you were just talking about. If they don't have a Medicare.gov, how long does it take for medications to populate?
Well, it doesn't really matter if they don't have a mymedicare.gov account set up, because it all gets logged in the system in the back end. So it's not a matter of when they set that up. It's when did the pharmacy send that off and get all that processed, the files. So all you're doing is accessing it. So like if I'm going to use my mom, for example, if she were to come over here and say, hey, Clay, you need to, or can you just do this for me? Sure, Lisa, let's take a look at this. And I would set it up, and all I'd be doing is just accessing what's already been there for 10 years. So I don't know. Did I answer that question, or was that a lot of confusing words?
I think a little of both.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty. Okay, so yeah, the medications, yeah. So I think we're good with blue button at this point, right? If we don't have any other questions coming in. I will tell you the one piece I will say, if you do want to do this on behalf of your client, you don't have to send that email. And that's sometimes a question. Well, if I'm going to be doing this, do I have to send that email? Nope. This right here, when you click on the actions menu, this invite, this is that link. So you can either send the invitation email or copy that link. Once you copy that link, that's the same thing. That's the same link that they would click on if they were clicking in that email. So you as a broker, that's all you'd have to do is just invite, copy link. Boom, there you go. Log in, do the blue button import for them. Oh, when you copy that link, you would just paste it here in the browser. See how it's specific to them? Okay, and then that's the same link from the email that I showed you back over here. Takes you to the same spot. Okay, So you don't even have to bother your client at all with that email. Okay. Any questions? Shall we move on to the scope of appointment?
I think so.
Okay, let's do it. All right, so scope of appointment. There's two ways you can do that. One, you can do it from the actions menu right here, or from within their profile. See this send scope of appointment. Either way is just fine. Okay, I'm going to go back here to the beneficiary profile just because I want to. So I'm going to do send scope of appointment. And there's two options here. There's e-signature and there's upload a scope of appointment. This is the only way you can add or complete a scope of appointment. Remember, I was talking yesterday, if you have a scope, do not just add it to the document repository. Okay, and you need to do it this way, either one of these two options. Some people, when they're meeting with a beneficiary or meeting with a client face to face, they'll have one that they can just, it's already printed out, they just sign it, and then you can process that later when you get back in the office. But this right here, I'm going to talk about the e-signature here for a second. So I'm going to put in the appointment date, let's say face to face, and then I'm going to select my products. Now the next screen here is going to confirm, do I want to do text or do I want to do email? If I do text, I'm going to show you this flow here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and do email for now. But I'm going to hit next, and this will show you just a brief, this is what it's going to look like. This is a clickable button when they get the email. This is not clickable right now. This is just to show you they would click this. Okay. You can print this out if you want to. This is what it would actually look like when they get it. Let me see, I probably have it open somewhere on my computer. I'm going to go ahead and just send it so we can see what it looks like to the beneficiary. So that just sent. Now I'm going to go over to my email. There's the ding, I got it. Okay, so here's the scope of appointment. Hey, dear Ben training, let's complete your scope of appointment form. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this. Now what it's going to do is ask me to confirm some base information. Okay, so if I was doing this via text, it would say, instead of email, it would say phone number. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my email. Okay, and then my date of birth. And then I agree to the terms of service. I'm going to click get started. And this is what the form looks like. Okay, so this has their information, your information, the appointment information, and then if it's authorized representative, they can type their information in here and then their relationship. Or if it's for themselves, you can do that here as well. Okay, and then they would just type in their name, that's equivalent to a signature, and they would hit submit. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to get an email. The beneficiary will get this where they can download the form if they want to, but you as a broker will get an email confirming that it's been complete. See, there's that ding that I was just talking about. Let me open that up so you can see. And this is going to say your scope of appointment has been submitted. So this one comes to me, but there's also one that goes out to the broker as well. Okay, so this just confirms to them it's done. Download the scope of appointment form. Now in the system, in Trusty Select Pro, when you come in to the beneficiary in their profile, document repository, there's the scope of appointment. Okay, so if you do the electronic, you never have to worry about going back and scanning and all this stuff and worrying about uploading it. It's all going to be right here. Okay. Now, if you wanted to do the text option, let me show you what that looks like here. I'm just showing you this because there's no real way for me to do it live with you to show you all these screenshots. This is a training site that I have that you have access to as well. I'll talk about that later. The first screen they get is the text. Okay, they're going to tap on that text message here. Then they're going to put in their phone number and their date of birth. And then they're going to see the scope of appointment. Okay, that same form that I showed you, they will see they have the authorized representative signing for yourself. And then once they type in their name, hit submit, they're going to get that screen as well, like we did with the email, where they download the form. After they're done, they will get another text that say, hey, your scope of appointment has been submitted. Tap this link and it will bring them back to this page where they can download the form. Okay, and then you, excuse me, they would get this email as well. Okay, confirming, and then you would get that too. But then it would also save up into their profile. Okay, so it's kind of a pretty neat little thing that they would do. That's a new feature. Any questions on how that works? Is there anything coming through, Ben?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. To clarify, we mark the types of products before sending the SOA for the beneficiary to sign. Yes.
Yes. Yep. Yep. That's where, just to show everybody what they're talking about here, these products right here. Yep. Some brokers just select them all, but yeah, up to you guys how you fill that out. I can't counsel you one way or the other. Let's talk about uploading the SOA. If you are meeting with somebody firsthand and you're going to be doing the enrollment and stuff, and you need to get the file loaded, but it's a paper form that they just signed, what I recommend doing, and this is a tip and trick that you might take note of this, what I will usually do is have a Word document on my computer that just says need to upload SOA. And then what I'll do is I'll come in here and then I choose a file to upload and I upload that document, right? So need to upload SOA. What that will do is suffice the SOA requirement in the system, and you will be allowed to continue with the enrollment at that point. Obviously, if you have the actual one, just load that in here if you have it. But this is just a tip and trick for you to save you time when you're right there with them. And I've actually had that question, Clay, I don't know what to do if I'm sitting with them. Well, here's the workaround that I would say until you get back to the office where you can scan that in. So I would hit submit now. What that does is it triggers the system now to say, okay, you can do your enrollment. So I'm going to go back and let's start our enrollment. Okay, so Ben training, I'm going to go to the actions menu and there is an enroll button here. Okay, I'm going to click on that enroll. And that is just a confirmation email. So this form right here is a ready to sell form. You would need to type in your information. The box here for the carrier identification number, we have this in red because so many people don't really put the right number in sometimes. And so we've tried our best to help with that. If you if you're sending to a particular carrier, let's say United Healthcare, for example, I know for a fact they don't use the NPN. They use a writing agent ID specific to them. You would need to put that number in. So basically, this is the number that you would put in that you get paid commissions with. If you put in the NPN number for, let's say, United Healthcare, and you send this off, that app is not going to be tied to you. And then you're going to have to go through a long process of contacting the carrier, sending them your scope of appointment to show proof that, yes, that is your client, and then they will tie that back to you. So it's better just to make sure that you don't rush that part. Make sure you actually put in the right number that you get paid with. Okay.
Now that wouldn't screw over the client, right? Like the application will still go through.
Yep, okay. It still goes through. It's just what happens is you don't get credit for that. Right. The health plan just assumes that client, now it's theirs, right? So nobody gets a commission, but yes, they do still get their coverage. There's no worry about that. You just won't be able to help your client to see, is it rejected? Is it approved? Is it, and then you don't get your commission at all. So it's really critical that you put the right number in there. Okay. Now I'm going to put in my agency name, my upline, and then I'm going to select I am licensed with this carrier. You cannot continue unless you do. Now, the summary of benefits and the plan details, this is this is not the summary of benefits that you might be thinking about, where it has all the disclaimers and all the plan information. That is coming in the next step after we click start application. This right here is just the plan details that we looked at yesterday in the plan. Remember where it had all the costs and stuff? That's what that is. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click start application, and it's going to ask me 2 questions to start off. The beneficiary or broker. What's the difference between these two, Clay? Well, the beneficiary flow, you go through and you fill out the application, but you do not submit that. The beneficiary has to submit that. So instead of a button that says submit when we're done, and I'm going to go through this and show you the steps with the broker, it will actually say send to beneficiary. Then it's on your client to review it. They can't make changes, but they review it, and then it's on them to hit submit. And if they forget, then they won't be enrolled with insurance. So a lot of brokers are like, well, I'm doing this on behalf of them. That's why they came to me. I'm going to do broker. Okay. Because you never want to risk them not having that. But some people are good like that. You will just have to gauge your client and figure out which way you want to go. So we're going to do the broker so I can show you the flow. Once I click this, it's going to pause for a second. And I think I might have more opened up. Bear with me 1 second here. I'm in my testing environment, and so sometimes what I see here is not what you will see. So bear with me 1 second. Let me just refresh and start this again. Okay. Start application. Broker. Okay. Well, what I might need to do, because they probably are working on something here since I'm in stage, I can't do this in production because they don't like the apps going through. But what I will do is I'm going to go into my backup plan here. And that is in the quick start guide. I'll show you the flow. Okay. So we went through, started the enrollment, filled out the form, we selected broker. So I'm going to go into the broker flow. Now, what happens now is you have the application come up for that particular plan. Now, what you see here varies based on the carrier, based on the health plan. They determine what shows first, and they also determine what shows up here for documents available to you. Okay. This is the summary of benefits, and you can send this to your client as we go through the enrollment process. But if they want the ENOC to show up in here or anything like that, then the carrier will put that there. Any information that we put into Trusty will pull into the application form. The permanent residence, you'll put that information in if you didn't enter that in, if there is an emergency contact, and then your mailing address. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next page. And this is where we will put, let me back out just a little bit. That was really big. This is where you'll put in their Medicare information. So the Medicare number is the MBI number. Okay, and it should be this format right here is what it's looking for. If you just put in there a different number, it's not going to be accepted at the carrier side. The Part A and Part B effective date is required. And then you have your effective date of coverage. If it is if you're new to Medicare, it's going to assign that anyway, right? And where you can pick that or whatever. Okay, but you'll have that option there for the effective date. Prescription drug coverage, you'll have that question. You guys are probably pretty familiar with kind of the questions that we have here with the apps. Long-term care, effective date of coverage. Again, that's this box here. I did blow that up here for you. Now, again, this is the Mutual of Omaha plan. So it might be different. Like let's pretend that you pulled up SilverScripts or WellCare. What they ask on this first page might be reversed, right? It just depends on how they want that laid out. Now, the other information, so you would fill out the employment information, the email address. This is where you'd put that information in there if you want to receive materials via email. So that would be your summary of benefits, and any other information, you'd put that information in here. Okay. And then they're going to get that packet emailed over to them. However, they're paying for their plan. Again, this varies based on the health plan. So if they get a bill, if it's an EFT, or if it's through their railroad, you'll select that. The next screen here before you submit this is to review, and you can edit any of these pieces here just by clicking edit. And then once you're done, you've read this information, and then you would select you're the person listed, or you're helping them complete, or if it's a legal guardian or whatever, you'd put that information in here. Now, once you hit submit, that's going to process, and it's going to give you a page here that says, hey, the application is submitted. This will give you the confirmation number as well. This is the number that you would use, if you need to contact the carrier. If you do want to print that application, you can do that by clicking print or email it. Clay, what if this is an MAPD plan and they have a health risk assessment? Yes, some of these we do have that functionality. Some plans don't have that, but if they do, there'll be a little button here that says complete HNA or HRA. It might be a link out to their site to complete that, or if they do have the ability to have the form show up right here on the application process, again, that varies based on the carrier, then you would click the button and it would just pull right up for the HRA form at that point. Okay. Now you do have to complete that right away for that to work. If not, then you won't be able to complete that. So it needs to be done right then. You can't come back later and complete that. Now, the broker expectations. So once the submission is complete, okay, so you've gone through the enrollment process. Now what? Does it automatically go into the carrier site? Not yet. What happens is the Connecture is who we use to process the enrollment, right? So what we will do is submit all of the applications that come in from all of our customers, right? Connecture will then gather those, and the carriers like to have those submitted to them in what we call a batch. And I know this is a crazy batch, my hands, but we batch them all up. And then at midnight, they are sent out and parsed out and sent out to the appropriate carrier. Okay. The application within Trusty Select Pro will change. So that is, let me go back to the beneficiary list. That is this right here. Okay, so the application status will flip to application submitted. Then you will have an application ID. That is that confirmation number that I just showed you after it's completed. That will show up there as well. Okay. To check the status of the enrollment application after it's been submitted, you will need to log into your broker portal. What happens is the carrier does not send back what we call a 999 file, which is the remit file. So they don't report that back. So we have no way to tell you, is it accepted or rejected? You have to go to the broker portal, and going back to that ready to sell form, it's very important that you put in that correct number so that it does tie you to that application. Okay. If you ever call them or you log in and you're like, I can't find this beneficiary, I can't find my client in this list, it may be for that reason. You might have to call the provider support or producer support. So this is what it looks like. The status definitions that are available is application started, application submitted. I know that list was a little bit long, but that is because there's different types of customers that we have that these would pertain to, but you would only have access to, or you would only see in this list, application started and application submitted. Okay. So any questions on that particular piece that came through? So there's the pending submission at this time. So after you, sorry, Ben, I asked that question. Now I'm going off on a topic. After you submit that, so let's say it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I submit that, and then you get worried because it still says pending submission, but I actually clicked the submitted button. Just remember, it doesn't actually change until midnight. Then it's going to flip. I do want to also mention that you as a broker, let's say you submit 20 applications in one day. Okay, that's a great day, right? You submit the 20 at midnight after they process and this application status changes, you will get 20 emails individually for each one of those clients that go through, and that's your confirmation. Okay. it will have that same information that right here, the application submitted. It'll be an email and it'll look similar to this. Okay, and it'll have their name on there. This application has been submitted for Ben training. Okay, Ben, any questions on that process?
I'm curious, what time zone do they get sent?
UTC. So it's kind of a general, when they submit that stuff, I think you're asking that because if I'm in California or something like that, or if Michigan is central and it's 11:59 my time, is it too late or what? No, you'll be fine at that point. And typically what happens is the carrier has a little bit of a buffer for when that comes in, and they'll adjust that effective date. Like if you're submitting it on August 31st at 11:59, is it going to hit that and go in? Is that kind of why you're asking that?
Yeah, well, just curious, because I know like you're over in Arizona, so just wondering if they send it, every hour for each time zone, or if it's just one, or how they work it.
It's just one, yeah, just the UTC time zone. But in speaking with Connecture a while back, I actually had that question too. I said, hey, what happens if it's the last day of the month at 11:00 p.m.? Are they going to actually be denied because they passed that effective date? No, they confirmed that yes, there is a little bit of a buffer that the carriers will recognize for that. So no worries there.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything from the agents right now.
Okay. All right. I wanted to make sure I touched on those important pieces. I was going to hit instant plan and RX review last, so that we have time to talk about the important pieces, not the batch processor. And instant plan and RX review is not important. So let's take a look at that. Okay. So we're going to rewind your mind that we have not done the enrollment yet. We've done all the work to update their medications for all your clients, right? You've done all that. Now that you've done that, October 1st comes, all of the plans drop. Okay. Now you're going to go frantically. Okay, now we got to go in and run all these quotes. And let's say you have 400 clients, and 80% of them are PDPs. And of that 80%, 50% of that is stay in plan. So you're going to go through and you're going to run quotes individually for each one of these people. You're going to spend 10 to 15 minutes of your time, right? Maybe 20, it just depends, only to find out they need to just stay in their plan. What would you do if you had that time back, right? You do the math, figure it out. It could save you a week of your AEP time, 2 weeks, depending on how many customers you have when you figure out that time. So what this tool does, I'm going to click on batch processing on the left-hand side. It will look at your current plan. We don't care about quoted plan. We only care about the current plan. That's why I'm saying work on getting your medications updated right now. Then when the plans drop, and your current plan, then when the plans drop on October 1st, come in and run the batch processor. What that will do is you go in here and you click start batch. You can do it by clicking this button here, and you can say, I only want all of my PDP plans to be run. Or you can just do select all and run it that way as well. Then when you click the batch, it's just going to say, okay, I'm going to run those through. I've already ran this before this training just for the sake of time. But what it will do is process those, and it will go through the same steps, right? It's going to look at the medications, and it's going to make an assumption of what would be the right fit plan. Would it based on the estimated out-of-pocket plus the plan premium and the total drugs covered. Okay, so once it does that, it's going to give us some feedback. Okay, hey, Milo training, they need to stay in their plan. So what does that look like? What does that mean? Well, I'm going to click on these 3 dots, and these 3 dots will show me, hey, Milo training, this is actually what will be sent to your client. It's this template, except for the click here to compare their plans. Only you see that. We don't want them in there comparing their own plans. Right now, you want to control that, right? So this button doesn't exist on that template for them. But what this is going to say is, you need to remain in your current plan, and this will flip to 2024, but you need to remain in your current plan. Here's the current, and this is the one that we want to move you into. Okay, so that is a big thing, because what you'll do after you run that batch process, you're going to hit send email, and you're going to send an email to every one of those stay in plan flags. Send email now. And it might give me an error because some may not have an email address, but it looks like it went through. But that just, yep, there you go. There's my confirmation. They're going to get that email to say, hey, just stay put. Now that just saved you. See how long that took me? I ran my batch. I sent the email to everybody. We're good. I can move on to getting new business instead of all of those that stay in plan. The other one that's key here is those that don't have a plan. If they don't have a current plan at all, then what you can do is you can send an email to all of those that have no plan. Okay. What that will do is just say, hey, I'm looking out for you. Let's talk about a plan. Okay. Now what that looks like is if I click these three dots, and it will say, okay, based on your information, the lowest cost is this one, and then the next lowest cost is this. So that kind of gets their mind going. They'll reach out to you, and then you can further discuss the plans in detail. Now, the change in plan. So if they're on a plan right now that says, hey, we need to change your plan, that could be for a couple of reasons. One, maybe that plan is not available anymore. I know SilverScripts, there was a plan, it was like Smart Saver. It used to be something else and it switched. So that would be a change in plan, right? Is that still the plan you want? Or down here in Arizona, we get a lot of people from Michigan, right? Because they don't like the cold anymore. So they come down here, and we love them on our roads in the wintertime. That's another topic. Ben, can you set up a meeting to talk about that with everybody? No, I'm just kidding. So they that plan may not be available in that area, right? We don't have the same plans that would be available in Michigan. So let's say that they move from Arizona to Michigan because they want the snow, right? The plan that they're on over here is not going to be one up there. And so it's going to flag you to say, okay, change in plan. What we'll do is we'll click those three dots. Again, I'm going to do Milo Bowen. That's my dog, Milo. This is going to show me, hey, you're on this plan, but you need to actually change your plan into this one. Okay. This one is found that it's cheaper. You need to get off that plan. So that's the thing too, is not only does it look at, did you relocate? Is the plan still available? But if that plan is more expensive, then you would want to switch over to this other plan. So see what happened here? Clay, that one's more expensive. Why is that saying you need to get into that one? Well, that plan is probably not available, right? Or that plan is not, it doesn't work in that area or something like that, right? So, and this is my test system too. So some of these I've kind of doctored up a little bit to make us get that change in plan. So, but that's how that works. If you are doing this for MAPD plans, just know this is only going to do the comparison for the drugs. It's not going to compare the benefits, which you would want to go through those benefits one by one anyway, because the MAPD plans, there's a lot to those. It's not as cut and dry as a drug plan. Okay. Any questions on the batch processor?
The only question you just answered, which was about if it did MAPDs as well.
Okay. It does, but just the drugs. That's it. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about resources now that you have available to you. Okay, so when you're in Trusty Select Pro, you have a help button over here. And earlier you probably saw me click that, right? Because I needed to get to a resource. So I'm going to click help, and this will bring you into a portal where you have access to a university where there's videos, you have the knowledge base, and then you also have a quick start guide. What you saw me click on with this quick start guide is actually pretty helpful, and this might be your best bet as you're going through and learning the tool. This is based on steps. Okay, so step 1, 2, 3, and then as you click on these, so for example, step 4, your SOA, this will explain exactly how to do those. Okay, and I have pictures, I have steps, all of that. Okay, so this is kind of like a user manual, I guess, to this. Let's see. What was the other piece of that, Ben? Putting in a ticket. So if you do have an issue, let me go back to this really quick. If you do have an issue, Ben, I think would be your main reach out first. And then Ben, you may say, go ahead and create a ticket, or do you create tickets? I forget. Do you create tickets on their behalf, or do you just have them create them for us? I can't remember.
Usually I just create the ticket on their behalf. I mean, if they're contacting me with an issue, like I'm not going to tell them, well, go do this. I'll, try to take care of it myself. So
Okay.
you guys do have access to be able to do this yourself, but by all means, ask me first, because I might be able to answer you.
Mm-hmm. Ben's a nice guy too, so it's very helpful. And he knows the system very well too. So yeah, so that is everything on my agenda. Let me just run through the agenda really fast. Make sure that we covered everything. So the scope of appointment, blue button, direct enrollment, instant plan RX. Yep, that's everything. So just feel free to reach out to Ben if you have any questions. Ben, I'll kick it back over to you to close it off.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions regarding, what we talked about today, or even if you have something that we didn't talk about, if you would like to see or ask for, go ahead and type those in. We still have a couple minutes here before 4 o'clock. Yeah, and if, like I said before, if you're not with IAD, let us know. Talk to us. We can talk about some opportunities. If you're not already on TrustyCare, let me know that as well. I will be sending follow-up emails, so during that point, I can look to see beforehand if you're on, and if you're not on, I will ask if you have interest. Honestly, looking at these attendees, I think everybody here is already on.
I recognize a lot of those names too, or a
Yeah.
few of them. Some of them I don't. But...
Oh, something else. I really hope, I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked yesterday about the Transamerica MedSup and why it was showing up. So I did look into that and research it. And I think the reason why it's still showing up, because technically that plan did not go away. You just can't sell it anymore. So you can't get on that plan, but the plan still does exist. So if anybody got on it before it went away in 2020, they can still be on that plan. So I think that's probably why it still shows up.
Yep. Good research on that, Ben.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am not seeing any questions. So I guess we'll end it there.
I guess not until we give a root for the Broncos. Go Broncos.
Right. Is that the closest city to you? Denver?
No, it's the one with my football.
No, you're in Arizona.
Yeah, I'm in Arizona. I'm a Denver Broncos guy though.
Okay.
Always have.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Clayton. Thank you everybody for attending here. And like I said, I will be reaching out with some emails, and feel free to reach out anytime you have any questions.